So normalization is the process of splitting larger table into smaller tender tables without changing its functionality. Okay. So what is happening in normalization? We are splitting the bigger tables into smaller tables without changing its functionality. So it is generally carried in during the phase of SDLC only. Okay. So why this normalization is done? To reduce the redundancy. Redundancy means unnecessary repetition of data, and avoid the problem due to delete anomaly or inconsistency. Okay. So these are the advantages that normalization is done. So there are duplicate data which should not be there, and if any delete is happening in the records, so it should not create any problem over there. Okay. So now there are three types of normal forms which are generally used. Okay, so we have to know that. First is the first normal form, and we should collect all the required attributes into one or bigger entity. We have to assume no two records are same. Records should not be duplicated. Identify the probable primary key. So these 3 points should be kept in mind. First is that entire record should be kept in a bigger table. And what is the next thing is that we have to assume that no two records are same. That means there should not be any duplicate values. And we have to identify the probable primary key. So suppose this is a table. So in this table, first I have to identify what? The probable primary key. Suppose registration number can be one primary key, book number can be another primary key. And then we have to collect the required information in a bigger table it is. And then we have to assume that no two records, that means records should not have any duplicate value. First thing you have to keep in mind is that duplicate record should not exist. And the next thing you have to keep is that we have to identify the probable primary key. And next thing is that everything is kept in a bigger table. 3 points should be very, very clear when you explain first normal form. So bigger table, no duplicate, and primary key should be identified. So this is a table whose name is college. In that, these are the columns like registration number, student name, semester, date of birth, mail ID, phone number, book name, author, date of identification, date of return, okay, and fine. Okay. So these are the particular columns in this table college. So this is first normal form. All these 3 points you have to always keep in mind. Bigger table, no duplicate, and identify probable primary key. What happens in second normal form is, first of all, to perform second normal form, the table should be in first normal form. And then we have to identify the complete dependency and move it into different tables. So that means what? Complete dependency means what? There's two tables. There's suppose a student is completely dependent on book. So I have made two tables out of this college table. One is student and one is what? Books. Now students will have their registration number, and this is the primary key, and rest of the column. Books will have his book number as primary key and registration number as foreign key, and all these columns. So what happened, guys? This bigger table got splitted into smaller table. One table is student and another is book. This is called as what? A second normal form. Here what happened? You have to remember this point, that we have to identify the complete dependency. Complete dependency means students are completely dependent on book. And wherever the complete dependency is there, there only we will divide the table into separate tables. So what happened here? The complete dependency was students on books, and then we have move it into separately into different tables. So at the end of second normal form, our data looks like this. This is fine. Next is third normal form. To be in third normal form, the table must be have to be in second normal form. That means second normal form is what, guys? I told you second normal form. To be in second normal form, first of all is it should be in first normal form, and wherever there is a complete dependency, we'll move into separate table. So to be in third normal form, it should be in second normal form. And here we'll identify the partial dependency and move into separate tables. That means what? Students are dependent on books and books are dependent on library. So there's a partial dependency. Whenever there's a partial dependency, we'll divide it into different tables. That means what, guys? What is happening here is, if you see this is a primary key, okay, this is fine. Registration number, book number is also primary key. Now a partial dependency is what? The library. So students is dependent on book, and both this student and book is dependent on library. So this is a partial dependency on the library. So whenever there's a partial dependency, we'll move such columns in a separate table. So this column, suppose DOI, the date it was initiated, okay, DOR, date which was returned and defined. So this is what is happening is wherever there is a partial dependency, the library is partially dependent on students and books. So we'll move it into the separate tables. And this is called as third normal form. To be in third normal form, the table must be in second normal form. And we'll identify the partial dependency and move such columns in a separate table. So disadvantage of normalization is what? We'll have to write the many queries, because for library a separate query, book a separate query, student a separate query. And if you want to join, lot of joins will be there. We'll have to join students with books, students, and then again I have to join what? I have to join the books with library. So there will be a lot of joins in this, and complex query will be written. So the only minor disadvantage is a way to write the complex query, and we have more number of tables to be accessed. So this is the disadvantage, that complex query needs to be written because we have to join multiple tables. Denormalization is just the reverse of normalization. What will happen in denormalization is the process of combining one or more tables into form a bigger table. That is called as what? Denormalization. There is something called as code rule, guys. I don't know how many of you know this code rule. Although this is never asked, but you should know just for your knowledge. Code rule tells what? So what it tells, it should support null values and should support creation of relationship between the table. Okay, should support DDL, DML, TCL. Okay, should support constraint like primary key, unique, and check. Should support queries techniques like subquery, joins, grouping. So this is what is the differentiation between the RDBMS and DBMS. So I told you in RDBMS there's a way to create the relationship between the tables, and DBMS there's no relationship between the tables. To RDBMS to satisfy it as DBMS to satisfy as RDBMS, it must follows the code rule. So this is the thing, guys. This is normalization. Did you understand normalization? Normalization is what? Splitting of larger table into smaller table. Advantage to reduce the redundancy, and if there is any delete, it should not be providing any inconsistency. And there are three types: first, second, and third. First means we collect everything in a bigger table, and wherever there is a complete dependency, we'll move it into the separate table, and there should not be any duplicate values. And in second normal form, it should be in for first normal form, or wherever there is complete dependency, we'll move it into separate tables. Third normal form, it should be in second normal form, wherever there is partial dependency, we'll move it into a separate table with separate columns. And normal disadvantage is we have to write complex query because we have to join multiple tables. Denormalization, what will happen is the process of combining smaller tables to form a bigger table. Am I clear with normalization, guys? Yes or no?
Yes, yes.
So, guys, next thing is that the project and all those things. So before that, I just wanted to discuss the interview questions and everything. Okay, so that is what is the plan. So see what happens, guys. Here is first you have to understand is 1 second, guys. So we'll go to the interview questions, guys. Let us just first understand the interview questions. So interview questions, I have divided into general questions, ETL testing questions, BI reporting questions, SQL, QC, Unix, manual testing questions. First of all, general question. General question asks this whenever you go to any interview. First question they will ask this, please introduce yourself. This is the first question any interview of this world. So what you have to tell is that my name is so and so, and I have suppose I have 6 years of experience in ETL testing and BI reporting testing. I have expertise in writing SQL queries, and I've worked in multiple projects of data migration. And I have worked in the ETL tool Informatica and BI reporting tool like Power BI, MicroStrategy. I passed my college from this and this college, and I'm working in this company. That's all is the introduction. Then they will tell you, can you please explain your project? There's a second question, I always asked, second question. Can you explain your project? Who is your client? What is the flow of the project? What is the duration? What is the domain? This you have to explain for at least 10 minutes to 15 minutes. You have to explain your project. Suppose a e-commerce project is there. You have to explain it. This is a, first you have to tell what kind of project it is. It's a data migration project first. Now what will you tell is that the sales is happening for a particular product for a particular regions, and we are calculating all the calculations related to the project. And the project architecture is that the data is going from the source to the staging to the data warehouse to the data mart, and finally the end product is coming as the BI report. And the testing is divided into two parts. We are testing the data from the source to the data warehouse. This is part one of the testing. Part two of the testing is we are checking the data from the data warehouse to the BI report. Then you have to tell, okay, what is your roles and responsibilities? This will be asked. Then you will tell, as an ETL tester, my responsibilities are, whenever I get a requirement, what is the first responsibility is, I have to understand the requirement, review the requirement, and based on our understanding and review of the requirement, what will happen is we'll prepare a document called as test scenarios. Then we prepare an in detail document called as test cases. Then we prepared the SQL queries, which will be used for validations. And we will prepare the RTM document. And then we will execute these test cases. And then we will log the defects using defect tracking tool like Bugzilla Zero or manual bug report. We run the workflow and check the status of the workflow. And if it is passed, we'll start doing our testing activities. And if it is failing, we are sending the log to the developer. So this is your roles and responsibilities. So why you change your profile from manual testing to ETL BI reporting testing? So this is a very generic question. This is asked that you could have worked in manual testing. Why you moved from manual testing to ETL or BI reporting testing? So you'll tell, I had more interest in the database and SQL, and I wanted to know more about these things, and I got interested in these things. And I changed the profile to the ETL testing and BI reporting test. I wanted to analyze the data and find the defects which the developer would have done in the ETL project architecture or data related defect. Based on my interest and understanding, I changed my profile from the manual testing to the ETL testing or BI reporting testing. Okay, what is the testing process followed in your company? So you have to tell the entire software testing lifecycle, which I have already explained. Yes or no, guys? Yes. Yesterday, did I explain STLC? Yes or no? Everyone? Yes. So I told you, you have to explain the entire software test lifecycle. Everything I have already explained. Yes. As STLC. So you have to explain the STLC completely, guys. Next is that which model of SDLC is followed in your organization? Can you explain Agile methodology? That means in software development life cycle, there are different models like waterfall, like spiral, prototype, BNB, Agile. Generally, they ask Agile methodology. So you should prepare yourself for the Agile methodology. Okay. Next is, can you please tell the team structure of your project? Okay. Can you please tell this is a very important question. Can you please tell the team structure of your project and where you were fitted? So what you have to tell is, suppose there are 4 developers, okay, 2 test engineer, 1 manager, okay, 1 Scrum masters are there, and 2 BI report developers are there. Developers are divided into 2. Suppose 1 is the ETL developer and 1 is the BI reporting developer. Testers are always same. They will only test ETL also. They will only test BI only, BI reporting or reports also. what you have to tell is total members were 8, 4 were the ETL developer, 2 were the BI reporting developer, and 1 you can tell as the Scrum Master or the project manager. So 5, and 4 plus 2, 6 plus 1, 7, and 1 or 2 you can tell is the test engineer. You tell 2 test engineers were there. I was in the test engineer position. So this is my team structure. One was the test lead and one was the test engineer. Either you can tell yourself as a test engineer, or you can tell yourself as the test lead according to your experience. If you are putting, if a person has 6+ years of experience, then he has to tell, mostly that person becomes a lead 6-7 years. And but if he is not, if it's a very high level company, even 6-7 years is test engineers only responsibility. This is your team structure. 9 people you have to tell. 4 developers, ETL developers, 2 BI reporting developers, and 2 is the 1 is the manager, and 2 is the test engineer. 1 is test lead and 1 is the test engineers. Next comes is the challenges in your project. So as this was already discussed, what are the challenges in a data warehousing project? So first is the requirement is not clear. We need to ask from the developer or the project manager. Timeline is very, very tight schedule. So we need to give the project on time. Okay. So this is again a question asked. Okay. And we have to give a lot of extra effort in weekend also to complete the project. And apart from that, you can tell that the STM document was incorrect sometime. The BRD was not clear. All these were the challenges in the project. Next is, do you ever got a chance to manage a team or work as a test lead? So generally, after 6-7 years of experience, when you tell, you should tell yes. You should always tell yes. You should tell what? Yes, I was working as a, if you have 4-5 years of experience, you can tell I was a senior test engineer. That is completely fine. But if you're putting 7+, then you should tell what I was working as a test lead. And what I was doing is that I was doing my work, entire testing thing, getting requirement, writing test scenario, test case, test execution, and defect logging. Apart from that, I was monitoring the team. So I had 1 or 2 resources, you can tell, as a test engineers, whom I was assigning the task and reviewing their documents. Test documents are also called as test artifacts. So that also I was reviewing. And the managing of the entire testing team. These things I was doing apart from my testing activities. So I was doing my work as well as monitoring the juniors. So both the things I was doing. Also, sometimes people tell, no, I was not a test lead. I was a senior test engineer only, but I used to work as a lead. By the designation, I was a senior test engineer, but the roles and responsibilities was a lead. So I was managing the team. I was giving them tasks. I was taking daily stand-up meeting. I was providing them the templates, and I was training them also if they were, if it was a new requirement, and I was monitoring their activities. So as a test lead, the responsibilities, as I already told you, again, I'm telling you, is always take the daily stand-up meeting. In daily stand-up meeting, we'll discuss what you did yesterday, what's the planning for today, and what's the planning for the next day. Then we will assign the task to the test engineer. Okay, for module 1, you write the test case. Module 2, you write the test case. Module 3, you write the test case. Then any escalations are there with respect to testing activities, like if anyone missed an issue or some test case written is wrong or any such kind of escalations. So that is also a part of the test lead. Then providing the templates, like it is a test case template or RTM template. All these templates are provided by the test lead. So that is what is the test lead responsibility. So next is, what are the database you have worked? So you should tell what I worked majorly in Oracle and also I worked in SQL Server. Now the question asks, this is a very, very common question. How much you rate yourself in SQL out of 10? How much you rate yourself in SQL out of 10? We have to generally give an answer that 8 is the correct answer for this. Correct in the sense, if you tell 10 out of 10, this is somewhat This is somewhat not considered as a correct answer and an arrogant answer. This is because then the interviewer thinks that we should ask one question that he cannot answer. 9 is also somewhat considered as a very challenging, or if you are really excellent in SQL and you can solve every queries, then you should tell 9. But 8 is the answer which you tell that I am good, I can give 80% of the answers, and you can give all the answers. So you should tell 8 out of 10, and then you should wait for his SQL queries, so that even if you miss one query, then also you get selected. If you tell 10 out of 10 and all those things, then you should not miss out any questions. If you are still confident that you can give all the answers, then only you should tell 10 out of 10 and 10 out of 9. Generally, you should tell 10 out of 8, and telling less than 10, 7, 6, 5, that shows a very bad impression. That means you are not up to the mark, and you yourself is not confident, and you are telling 7, 6, 5, 4, and all those things. Then the interviewer will ask a question. What do you know in Unix? Why do we need Unix in our current project? So this is the question. Why do, okay, or why, where did you, okay, why we use, we can write like this, why we use Unix in our current project, or where you using Unix in your current project. So this is the correct way. Let me write like this, where you using Unix in your current project. This is the question asked so that you are working in Unix or not. If you don't want to tell, well, no, currently in our project we are not using Unix. If you want to tell, yes, since the client environment is in Unix, so we were using the Unix platform. And one more way this question is asked, that have you ever worked in Unix platform, and why this Unix platform is used? It is an old operating system. Everyone is going to Windows 10, and then why this Unix is used? So you'll tell that the client is Unix, the Unix platform. So that is why we use Unix in ETL testing. And are you using Unix in your current project? It's up to you. You can tell no, in this project we are not using Unix. If you want to tell yes, you can tell yes, I am using Unix in my current project, and the software uses PuTTY to access the data. This is the, guys, generic question. Generic question means what? These questions, it is not that it will be asked or it will not be asked. It is a question, it will be asked. So the answer should be ready-made, should be prepared, handy. Because as soon as you sit, or if you are giving a video interview, the first question, whether offline, online, is this only. And I've highlighted that also. Project, please introduce yourself. The interviewer is very, very easy, very, very busy. So he will not ask this question also. He will go through the project explanation. And then roles and responsibilities. These 3 questions are mandatory. You should be always prepared. Then, guys, 5 test scenarios, 5 test cases, and 5 bugs in your project. This thing should be very, very handy. It is not that you will think there and write on these things. 5 scenario, okay? 5 test case and bugs of your project. These answers you should already be prepared, and you should be ready to give to the interview. This is a generic question, 100% it will be asked, whether it is a small scale company, startup company, or is the world's biggest company. Introduction, project, and roles and responsibilities. This will be asked. There's no doubt that this question will be asked in any technology, anywhere. Next is guide. So the answers what you should give should be very, very accurate, because you know the question, you know the answer. The way you represent will decide that person will get selected or the person will get rejected. The interviewer goes there to eliminate and get the best. Okay, he is never there to select anyone. He just finds the fittest one. So you should be prepared with this answer. You know, you are sitting now, you will ask that, please introduce yourself. You should be ready with your answers in a very confident, in a very clear, in a very precise and prepared answer should be given accurately, confidently. Look into the eyes of the interviewer and give the answers very, very confidently. This is the general question, guys. Next is the ETL testing questions. which is a must questions again for ETL testing whenever you give the ETL testing interview, guys. First question asked is what is your project architecture? Okay, so project architecture is, guys, more than 100 times I have told you. Once again, I am telling you, same project architecture you tell, the source to staging to data warehouse to the data mart to the BI report. Roles and responsibilities. So many times I have told you, checking the data from source to data warehouse, from data warehouse to the BI report, running the workflow pass or fail. If it is pass, it's fine. We start doing the validation. If it is fail, we will send the log to the developer. Next is what is it? What is SCD type 1, type 2, type 3? What are the kinds of validations are done for this? I've already taught you. Do you remember? Yes or no? Yes. Then what is initial and incremental load? Okay, initial and incremental load and their validations. Next is what is the difference between database and data warehouse? Do you remember, guys, this answer? Difference between database and data warehouse? Yes or no? Yes. Then what is difference between OLTP, OLAP? What is the ETL tool used? What is the answer for this? What is the ETL tool used? What will you tell?
Informatica.
Yeah, you can tell Informatica. Next is, guys, what are the components of Informatica Power Center? Do you remember components? Workflow manager, workflow monitor, and designer. Then the question is, what is the scheduling tool used? What is the scheduling tool we have used? That is nothing but your Tidal. BI reporting tool you are using. You can tell Tableau, Power BI, MicroStrategy. Next is how much you rate yourself in SQL, that I have already discussed. Next is, guys, what are the validations done for your ETL testing? This question will be asked, guys. What are the validation done for your ETL testing? So can you just tell me what is the answer for this? What are the validation done for ETL testing? First, we'll validate the structure.
Count validation.
No. First, we'll validate the structure of source and target table. Structure means what? A column name, data type, constraint, all these things are coming in the structure. Then you tell all the validations, whatever I have told you. The completely your data completeness, that includes the count, data validation, that includes your minus. Okay. Then you can tell what we have checked the duplicate, null, and the business logics. Okay. Then we also did the data quality check. And then as per the business requirement, any transformation is used. It can be aggregate, filter, router, lookup transformation. All these kinds of validations we have done in our ETL testing. Like this, if you give the answer, no, this will show that the person knows the thing. Next is what? They will ask all the kind of validation or low transformations, whichever I have told you. What is lookup transformation, and its validation, filter transformation, router transformation, sorter transformation, and its validation. Next is, guys, is so all the transformation, guys. What is filter transformation? Then aggregate transformation. Then filter transformation, lookup transformation, then joiner transformation, shorter transformation. Okay, router transformation. And it's validation. Fine. Next is what is the use of ETL testing? The use of ETL testing is what, guys? To check the data is data is correctly migrated from source to the target. And then the data from source to the target, that is data warehouse. And then finally, the end product is what, guys? BI report, and the higher management goes directly to the BI report, and based on the BI report, they take the decision. Suppose how many people have joined the organization, how many people have left the organization, what is the sale of a particular product in a particular region. That is nothing but your use of ETL testing. Next is what is the end product of ETL testing? That is nothing but your BI report. So overall, how many testings are there in ETL testing. So you can tell entire thing. I told you data completeness, data transformation, data quality, integration testing, regression testing, initial load testing, incremental load testing, all the kind user acceptance testing, all the kind of testing I have taught you, all the 9 kinds of testing. Then how we do regression testing in ETL testing? This is again asked. Simple, we'll create a backup of the table. Then we will load the data from the source to the target with the transformation and everything. And then we can just check the backup of the table with the table which is now migrated A minus B, B minus A, and we can get the output. This question is also generally asked. I have loaded 1000 records from Excel to the database. Now, what are the kind of validations which will be performed? Okay, which will be performed so that will not miss out any data validation. So this is a generic question. 1000 records are there in Excel sheet. I have loaded into the database. So what are the kind of validations you will perform, or how will you perform the validations? So it's a very generic questions. First, I'll validate the count, minus, duplicate, null, and as per the business logic, all those things you have to tell. What is the difference between data warehouse and data mart? What is a data warehouse? What is the difference between surrogate and primary key? What data model is used in your project? It can be a star schema, snowflake schema, galaxy schema. What is the difference between fact and dimension table? What are the types of? Also, we can add it here. What are the types of fact and dimension table? What are the types of fact and dimension table? Next is, how is fact and dimension table joined? So what is the answer? Dimension table surrogate key, which is the primary key, will be joined to the foreign key of the fact table. What is a factless fact table? What is a factless fact table? Fact table which does not have any measure. What are the types of fact table? Do you remember that? Same additive fact, and non-additive fact. So this is also a very genuine question. Which is loaded first, fact table or dimension table? What is the answer? Dimension table. So what is a source system? And so what you have to tell, source system can be an Excel sheet, it can be an XML, can be a flat file, can be a database. So next is, what is the data quality checks? I have already told you. What are the ways or techniques to validate the data from source to target? Excel to Excel, DB to DB, or file to file. Everything I have told you. What is difference between a mapping and a maplet? Okay, so this was already told when I was teaching you Informatica. Okay, so the kind of defects, guys, I've already told you, and that can be the defects. I've already told you, like count is not matching, values are not matching, mathematical error and logical error, UI defects, performance defects. All those things are already discussed. Sometimes they are asking, what are the types of fact and dimension table used in your project? So what do you have to tell? About sales is a fact table, location hierarchy, item hierarchy, and date. These are what the dimension table. We are following star schema. This is your ETL testing questions. Prepare all the answers. Next comes the BI reporting questions, guys. First thing will be asked. So what is the BI tool used in your project? You have to tell Power BI. So what are the validations done for Power BI tool? Already explained you each and everything based on the functionality, based on the UI, based on the performance, and finally based on the data, which is the most important. Next is write 5 test scenarios for BI reporting testing and 5 test cases for BI reporting testing. So all the scenarios and cases you can prepare. And what are the bugs you got while doing BI reporting testing? So I've already told you all the bugs using the mathematical error. It can be a code error, it can be a UI error, it can be a functional error, it can be a performance error. All the defects I have already told you. In BI report, there are issues coming because of cache and cookies also, because the old data are already there. So that is nothing but your cache and cookie. So bugs are also coming because of cache and cookies. Okay, the values in the report is not matching with the data warehouse formula. And as per the, and if we put any filter and then the data is not changing in the report, this is a functional defect. This is what a data issue. This will be considered as values not matching is data defect. This is what a functional defect. Functionality is not working, okay? And this is what refresh, because of the refresh, this particular defect is coming. Apart from that, UI defects, guys, there's color, font and all. Color and font and all. So this will be what? UI defect. Performance defect, I already told you that that the report is taking so much time to load. That is nothing but your performance defect, okay? Next comes the most important thing, is the question based on your SQL. 60% of your interview will be based on the SQL questions, because these are quite the theoretical things. Again, this is a conceptual thing, but still we can tell theory, right? As SCD is what a slowly changing dimension, and it's of 3 types, SCD type 1, type 2, type 3. All those things we can tell, and the validations. But SQL is a programming language. I have already told on the first day. So this is what is the language, or this is what is the thing, how an interviewer can reject a person, and how an interviewer can select a person. If I have to reject if there's only one seat and there are 4 people came, then how can I reject them? And everyone is giving me the correct answers because they are telling what is the project and responsibilities and all very nicely. Then it's very difficult to reject anyone because the matter of a career. So what we will do is, what the interviewer will do, he'll give 4 or 5 complex SQL queries, and out of that 4, I think hardly one will be able to write, and the person will get selected because this is complete coding. So coding is a thing which can discriminate between the individual, and this is how actual selection and rejection goes. Theoretically, okay, that is fine. Somehow a person can manage. A person who has very good communication skills can also manage. But when it comes to coding, irrespective of your communication skill and whatever you tell theoretically, that's fine. If I have given you a query to find the second maximum salary, you cannot write, it's all over 0. It's like maths. So either you will get 10 out of 10 or you will get 10 out of 0. There you keep explaining, no one is going to listen you. So this is very important, guys, SQL. So rate yourself, I told you 8. Then the first question I've written is, what are joins and what are the types of joins? So do you remember that? What are the types of join?
Join, left join, right join, full auto join.
No. Types of join is what? Equi-join or inner join,
Yes.
self-join, Cartesian join, and outer join. These are the 4 types of join. Outer join is further divided into left, right, and full outer join. So always remember Cartesian join, equi or inner join, and self-join, and then last is outer join. You can tell outer join is further divided into 3 types. What is that? Left outer join, right outer join, full outer join. This 4 only you tell. Sometimes people tell non-equi join, but that is what, apart from equal to any other operator we will take for joining, like greater than, less than, between and all, then it is called as non-equi join. But first you don't tell, you tell these 4 types of join. That's all. If we ask, then we can tell. Next is, what are subqueries? So I've already told you difference between delete, drop, truncate. What is a view? What is a stored procedure? What are types of join? Difference between left and right outer join. Correlated, and what is correlated subqueries? And what are the data types in SQL? What is the difference between char and varchar? What is difference between group functions? What are the different group function and scalar? What is the difference between group function and scalar function? What are types of group function? What are the types of group function? Can you just tell me? Do you remember sum, max, mean, average, and count?
Yes.
Can you write duplicate query, or can you write a query to find the duplicates? I told you 100 times, duplicate query. Select a column, comma, count of star from the table, group by that particular column, having count of star greater than 1. This is a query which is always asked, guys. 110% this query will be asked. So write a query to delete the duplicate. Okay. So suppose I want to delete a duplicate from EMP table from a column called as department number. So do you remember the query? delete from EMP, where row ID not in. What we have to write, guys? Select mean of row ID from that particular table and then group by department number. So always you have to know this query. I've already explained you this particular query. There's the query to delete the duplicate in this particular department number. We have got the minimum of row ID for the department number. We'll keep this and rest we will delete, and this will delete the duplicate records. The query to display the second maximum salary. Query to join two or more tables. They'll give you 2 tables, 3 tables to join the tables. Okay. Then minus also how to get the differentiation between table A and B if some records are not loaded correctly. So what is the thing? We can use minus or left outer join or right outer join. Then query to display alternate records. Okay. How to display the alternate records? This is also sometimes asked. Suppose second record, fourth record, sixth record. So this is also asked. I already told you the query. Display the details of employee earning first maximum salary. So do you remember the query? Select a star from EMP where salary equals to select max of salary from EMP. What is the difference between rank and dense rank? And then what is referential integrity constraint error? That means in the child table, we are entering the data which is not present in the parent table primary key. Then we are getting an error called as what? A referential integrity constraint. Then what is the difference between primary key, unique key, and then not null check, all the constraints? How to get the sixth record from a table? How to get the first record from a table? What is the difference between row num and row ID? What is group function? Display department-wise maximum cell. What is the output of this query? Select start from EMP. Okay. What is the output of this particular query? What is the query? Select start from EMP where null equals to null or null greater than not equals to null. Output is no record because two nulls cannot be compared. What is the query to display the employee earning second maximum salary? Okay. Query to display recently joined employee. Query to display employee and their respective manager. Query to count the employee whose salary is greater than 2,000. So all these queries you should prepare, and most of the queries will be asked from this 30 questions. Okay. Next. QC, quality center. Questions is what is quality center? What is full form of ALM? What is ALM or what is QC? Is the same thing. It's a test management tool. What are modules in QC or ALM? What is test plan in QC? What is test lab? Explain defect section in QC. In which section of QC RTM is prepared? How to export the defect from QC? So click on defect and section. Okay. Select the defect, right click, export the defect, and it will be exported in Excel. Next question is from Unix, guys. Why is Unix used? To display the third column from a file. So what you have to do is, you remember the query? Cut minus D, and then you have to give a delimiter name. So whatever your delimiter, you can just give, suppose in double quotation you have to give. Suppose the delimiter is comma, and then you can take a what? Field, then suppose third field. So field 3, a.txt. This is the query to get the third record. Cut minus D, D means delimiter, whatever the delimiter is there. And field 3 means column 3, and file name is a.txt. How to get the difference between two files? Using which command? diff. And what is awk command? To find a particular pattern in a particular file. What is head and tail in Unix? To get the first 5 record and last 5 record, we use head and tail. Can you tell 5 commands of Unix you have used in your project? Make the directory, copy directory, cat, grep, okay, remove directory, all these things you can tell. These are the Unix question, guys. Manual testing interview, if someone is interested in manual, but very less chances are there in ETL. Some people will ask manual questions. So which is the model followed in your organization? You can tell Agile. And what is the testing process? Nothing but STLC. What is bug lifecycle regression testing, test case design technique, difference between test scenario, test case? What is a test plan? Explain high severity and low priority bug and low priority and high severity bug. What are the status of the bug? Is other status of the bug? What is exploratory testing, functional testing, integration testing, system testing, and user acceptance testing? What is the difference between smoke and ad hoc testing? What is the difference between smoke and sanity testing? What are contents of a bug report? Can you please write 5 test scenario and test cases for your project? 5 blocker and critical bugs in your project. What is the test management tool used in your organization? Quality Center. What is the bug tracking tool used? Jira. What is VNV model? And what is the testing and types of testing? Where you involved in writing the test plan? Then what is RTM document? What is test execution report? What are we writing separate test cases for regression testing? No. What is impact analysis? What if developer do not accept it as a bug? What is invalid or bug or duplicate bug? What is usability testing, compatibility testing? Why 2 times it has come? Okay. And then what is compatibility testing? What is the difference between bug and defect? What is entry and exit criteria, deliverable, release? What is the advantage of boundary value analysis? And when do we go for equivalence partition? These are the questions asked in your manual testing interviews. These are the generic question, ETL testing question, BI reporting testing, SQL question, and unique QC question and Unix question. So guys, whichever I have highlighted, these are the questions which are generally asked. Generally asked doesn't mean that it will be only asked, but most of the time, 80% of the times I have highlighted the questions which are generally asked, and all the questions I have given.